again, this is not just a fight about politics, because you already knew that. It's not just a fight about politics. It's not just a it's not just a fight about who gets to who gets to sit where, who gets to push all the buttons, and who who gets to rule. Because really, nobody should rule if you think about it for long enough. Because what function do the rulers really serve? They serve no function at all. They serve themselves. And every time I think about these things in terms of Britain, it all all comes flooding back to me. Why? What sort of society do I personally want to live in? Do I want to live in that society represented by him? This kind of dark, this kind of dingy, angry work camp, or do I want to, or do I want this side? A loud, a loud, smelly bus full of people from all corners of the globe. I think I want the last one. I really think I want the last one, to be honest. Because despite all its flaws, it genuinely seems like that's the better form of society. Because in the ultimate sense, none of this really matters at all. Who gives a fuck? Who actually gives a fuck about any of this? Oh no, whites will be a minority. Even if that were true, I don't care. I do not fucking care. Because again, all this is not really just about class either. Well, it is all about class, but not exactly in the way you think it is. Because if it were just a matter of if it was just a matter of different peoples and tolerating their different lifestyles, then that would be fairly easy. But it isn't, is it? No, it's not. Because it doesn't work. It doesn't fucking work. Because each of these things is again these supposedly homogenous cultures are really just class struggle. All of it is class struggle. That the struggle itself is the universality. So no. So no. I don't respect Indian culture, especially especially with shit like the Untouchables. No. What I respect them for is struggling against that. Of course. It's kind of like the way I feel about Britain. It's not that I'm not completely in love with some of its aspects, of course, but I don't identify with it. No, not. I'm not going that far because a lot of it really is fucking awful, just like most places all the way around the world. Completely fucking awful and barbaric. I say that even about my own country and countries in Europe. So yes, naturally, with because I have insight into the I have quite clear insight as a member of an underclass in the society in which I was born. Generally, well, former member perhaps, but generally, I don't like it. Well, it's like people treat Britain as like this kind of unassailable thing that you can't criticise or They can't criticise or change that it being wrong. Somehow. But why should that be? Like the monarchy, for instance. Why the hell? Why the hell should we have that at all? It's undemocratic. It's archaic, cruel, tyrannical, and a whole bunch of other adjectives I could stuff in there for it. But I'm not going to. I don't have to make no point. And even from a utilitarian point of view, it's a waste of fucking money. If you want to find the real sponges, go to Buckingham Palace. It's right there, right in front of your eyes. And that is really where their version of utopia and our version of utopia part ways. Because there it's clean, it's orderly, everyone does what they're told, so on and so forth. But in ours, and also mine, it's loud, it's colourful. It's loud, it's colourful, it's anarchic, it's free. Not just because that's a good thing in and of itself, but because that's its binding ethos. That's what keeps it the way it is. It's not just accepting the way things are. It's grasping hold, quite simply, of society itself, and consciously moving it in this direction or that direction, which is exactly what isn't the case now. Because really, to be entirely effective, we don't want to do this in secret. No, I don't want to do it in secret. It defeats the whole point of revolution. There is nothing secret about revolution. It either exists or it doesn't. It is either there in your heart or it isn't. I should really say, it's either there in your heart or it isn't at all. Because, fundamentally, it has to exist somewhere, or it doesn't exist at all. I will tell you, once I did doubt myself, once or twice, I thought to myself, no, this is just in books. This is just so on and so forth. But then I wondered, where did the people who wrote these books get all this from? They couldn't have just made all of it up. It seemed far too lifelike and convincing. It's almost like they were there in person or something. And I thought to myself, yeah, maybe there's more to. Maybe there is more to this than meets the eye. Maybe it is necessary. Not just necessary, desirable, as a matter of fact. We will do it out of the open, not out of the open with our faces bared, or not. I don't want to hide. I won't hide the way I feel. I don't give a shit. Let people fucking hear. Let them hear. Who cares? It doesn't defeat the whole point. It simply makes it genuinely democratic. Because what I say and do, what I think, can be said, done and thought by everyone. Because the goals and the movement are truly democratic. Therefore, you don't actually initially you don't actually have to break the law just to even say it at all. Because again, either everything is fine the way it is, no revolution, or it isn't revolution. Because revolution and anarchy are the same thing. They are fundamentally the same thing. And besides, nobody has the right to impose. Nobody has the. Look, nobody on earth has the right to impose their way of life on everyone else. That's kind of like the paradox of modernity, right? Because on the one hand, on the one hand, there's freedom. You're not tied. You're not tied to blood or land or place any longer. But on the other hand, you're kind of atomised and desituated. So it's not all bad, like a lot of people say it is. And it doesn't really make me want to revert to some kind of agrarian society. Not really at all. No, I don't think so. For all its flaws, this society is immensely superior to. Well, it's immensely superior to every other society that's come before. So, what exactly will our goal be if we are no longer, it seems, fighting for the things that animated the peasant revolts, for instance? What are we fighting for? We are fighting for well, we are fighting for the rights we already got, and all of the rights we have yet to gain, until there are no longer any more rights to gain at all, which presumably is the end state. I mean, I mean, if you're at all familiar with some of the old socialist songs, you probably have heard the rights of the poor is an empty phrase, right? Because it is. Right now, our rights only exist in the abstract. See? Right now. But what if, just on a whim, we made a society that actually made these rights concrete? Like, properly. So it was so obvious that even a fool could see them. So obvious that you didn't need to write them down. And that is exactly where we are right now. Like properly. And that is also where we begin. Again. And we will begin again at this point until something else comes. Something else comes with all this philosophising and talking and endless matches that go nowhere and all of this, until a critical mass of people realise that what is contained in this picture is not what you think it is. It's not just that there's no people in this picture. Look at what this picture for a minute actually consists of. There's a bicycle, probably just out of the shot, concealed in one of those culverts is a tramway or something like that. But are you wondering to yourself, why can't you see any people in that house? They're in the barn, or they're in the house. They're not outside. Why does everything look so good? Why are the fields like that? Why does the house look so abundant? It's because of socially necessary labour time. It's because the fraction of necessary labour has been reduced to a minimum. That is why everything in this image looks so utopian. That is why all of it looks so nice. And that is also why in all the solar punk things you could find, everyone is smiling, everyone is happy. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? There's no jets in the sky. There's no war. There's no poverty. There's none of this nasty shit that overcomes us today. Because all of that has just been swept away, and we've made a completely clean slate of all of it. Because that is what needs to be done. That in this picture is the goal we have to fight for. With every breath, with every drop of blood in our bodies. Because why? Because it is the only thing worth fighting for. It is the only thing that has ever been worth fighting for. Or at last, everyone's dream is realised equally. Where at last you don't have to beg anyone, you don't have to doff your cap, you don't have to do any of these stupid fucking things you have to do today. There you will not have to do any of this. You can at last hold your head high and say, I am here, life is mine. And it will be true. Because the world itself will provide the full stop. Or more specifically, that world, which is actually closer than you think it is. This, of course, is not an exactly uncommon dream. Maybe it's been had in more vague terms. But that's what you have to do with these things. You have to mull them over so they become less random, more familiar, brighter, clearer. And just as a side note, when did I feel? When do I feel threatened? When do I feel threatened from the outside? When is there something? When is there something that makes my life hell? When is there a need imposed upon me and everyone else? Of course, it's money. Money, cash. You can find. Just look up the Marxian explanation, and all this will make sense. I promise you. But yeah, that is what it is. But in the world contained in solar punk images, that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist at all because it's been abolished. Because nobody pays anyone anything. Because there's no need to. It's obsolete. Everywhere has been liberated. There is no stone unturned. But of course, all of this can be tolerated by the powers that be. So long as you, the audience, don't actually do anything with these words, then everything is fine. In fact, they even encourage it. So long as it remains words, what do I want you to do? Put it into practice. Of course, because it will either happen all at once or it won't. I know this again. I know this sounds completely unreasonable, but really, we've got to look at it from the standpoint of being alive right now. We can't in good conscience say to ourselves, "Oh, this is for our grandchildren. We'll never get to enjoy." No. Absolutely fucking not. No. Why the fuck would I sacrifice? Why the fuck would I sacrifice my entire fucking life for something that is so distant I will never enjoy? That is exactly why we have to do it either now, all within the span of a couple of years, without any intermediate steps, going like the clappers to achieve it, or we just don't bother at all. There is no transition period. That is a fucking illusion. Why should there be a transition period? We've already had the transition period. Capitalism is already here. It rules the world. It's time for the next chapter. As in now. Not 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 next year, not in the next 100 years. Now.